The massive Talon research fleet floated through empty space like 7 dying giants. Each vessel was the size of a human city, their metallic hulls reflecting nothing but cold starlight. Admiral Hayuk stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching. His officers worked frantically at their stations. The holographic displays around him showed the same terrible information. Every single quantum drive was dead. These weren't minor failures that could be patched with spare parts. The entire propulsion system had been fried during their hyperspace jump, and now they were stranded light years from the nearest inhabited system. "Sir," called Lieutenant Woon from the navigation station, "I've confirmed our position. We're in the Theta 9 sector, completely uncharted territory." Hayuk's 3 eyes blinked slowly. The Talons had been exploring space for over 1,000 years. They considered themselves the most advanced species in the galaxy. Their technology was unmatched, their military undefeated, and now they were stuck in the middle of nowhere like primitive savages. The bridge doors slid open with a soft hiss. Minister Bora glided in, her ceremonial robes trailing behind her. As the fleet's head of supplies and logistics, her expression told Hayuk everything he needed to know. "The situation is worse than we thought," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "The quantum drive failure also damaged our manufacturing systems. We can't produce new supplies." She held up a data pad showing red numbers. "Food synthesizers are operating at 60% capacity, water recyclers at 70%. At current consumption rates, we have 6 weeks before critical shortages begin." Hyuk closed his eyes. 2,000 crew members spread across 7 ships. Scientists, engineers, warriors, diplomats, all of them now entirely dependent on dwindling supplies and a dead engine system that nobody knew how to fix. "Have the engineering teams found anything?" he asked. Chief Engineer Hoon approached from the technical station. His forearms moved constantly, operating multiple interfaces at once. "The quantum cores are completely burned out, sir. We've never seen damage like this. It's as if the hyperspace field collapsed while we were still inside it. Our best guess is we hit some kind of space anomaly," added Dr. Moon, the fleet's head scientist. "Something that doesn't exist in any of our databases." Hayuk nodded grimly. The Talons charted stars and space phenomena for centuries. Their databases contained information about every known hazard in explored space. But this was uncharted territory, and apparently it held dangers they'd never encountered. "What about our distress beacon?" Hayuk asked Communications Officer Park. "Broadcasting on all frequencies, sir. Standard galactic emergency codes plus our own military signals, but we're in an empty sector. No trade routes pass through here, no colonies, no mining stations, nothing." The Admiral walked to the massive viewport that stretched across the front of the bridge. Outside, space was unusually dark. Even the stars seemed distant and cold. In Talon space, you could always see the glow of distant worlds, the lights of space stations, the stream of starships moving between systems. Here, there was nothing. "Sir," Minister Bora said quietly, "should we inform the crew about our situation?" Hayuk considered this. Panic would help nobody, but hiding the truth seemed pointless. These were trained professionals, not civilians. "Prepare a fleet-wide announcement. Tell them we're experiencing technical difficulties and are working on repairs. No need to mention the supply situation yet." As his officers carried out orders, Hyuk reflected on how quickly everything had changed. 3 days ago, they'd been a proud research fleet on the edge of a major discovery. They'd detected unusual quantum signatures in this sector and come to investigate. Now they were helpless, stranded, and slowly dying. The irony wasn't lost on him. The Talons prided themselves on their independence. They helped other species when it suited them, but they never needed help themselves. Their technology was superior, their resources vast, their military might unquestioned. "Admiral," Lieutenant Jin called from the sensor station, "I'm detecting something unusual." "What is it?" "Small debris fields scattered throughout the system. Metal compositions I don't recognize. It's like something terrible happened here long ago." Hayuk moved to examine the readings. The debris was ancient, worn down by cosmic radiation. But some pieces were clearly artificial. "A battle?" he wondered aloud. "Or maybe someone else got stranded here," Dr. Moon suggested darkly. The thought sent chills through everyone on the bridge. Were they alone in this empty sector, or were there other ships floating dead in the darkness? Over the next hours, more reports came in from the other ships. The situation was the same everywhere: dead engines, failing systems, and growing concern among the crews. The Thailand fleet, once a symbol of technological mastery, was now just 7 metal tombs drifting through space. As the ship's day cycle dimmed to simulate night, Admiral Hayuk remained on the bridge. He stared out at the cold stars, wondering if this was how his people's great journey would end. Not in glorious battle or scientific triumph, but in silent darkness, forgotten by the galaxy they'd spent so long exploring. The distress beacon continued its endless broadcast, sending their location and situation into the void. But space was vast, and the chance of anyone finding them in this remote sector seemed impossibly small. Minutes turned to hours, hours to days, and still, nothing answered their call. Captain Jin was in the middle of his morning coffee when the communication array started beeping like crazy. He'd been running supply routes to the outer colonies for 10 years, and nothing ever excited him anymore. Another delivery of proteins bars to Alpha Station, some medical supplies to New Ganymede, maybe a few personal packages to lonely miners. On Titan base. "Hey, Wu," he called to his communications officer, who was fixing something in the cargo bay. "What's all that noise about?" Wu floated up through the hatch, her tool belt jangling. "Unknown signal, Captain." "It's coming from about 6 hours away at current speed." Jin raised an eyebrow. "Unknown how?" "See for yourself," Wu said, pulling up the display on the main screen. The signal patterns looked like nothing Jin had seen before. They weren't human, that was obvious. The frequency modulation was all wrong, and there were mathematical structures embedded in the transmission that looked almost musical. Engineer Young emerged from behind a control panel, wiping grease from his hands. "That's the weirdest thing I've seen in months. Looks like some kind of emergency broadcast." Navigator Hana looked up from her charts. "It's coming from empty space, no planets, no stations, nothing on the star maps." The crew of the Horizon's Edge gathered around the display. They were a small bunch, just 6 people who'd been working together for 3 years. Jin liked it that way. Big ships meant big crews, and big crews meant politics and drama. "Could be pirates," suggested Mechanic Lee, the newest member of their team. "Setting up a trap." "With a signal this complex?" Dr. Sue shook her head. "Pirates aren't this sophisticated." Jin stared at the readout. His gut was telling him something. Important was happening out there. The signal had a desperate quality to it, even though he couldn't understand what it was saying. "Change course," he decided. "Let's go take a look." Captain Hana protested. "We're not explorers. We're a cargo ship with basic equipment. If this is some kind of military situation, then we'll keep our distance and call for backup." Jin finished. But what if someone needs help? That settled it. The Horizon's Edge wasn't much to look at, a medium-sized cargo hauler with a beat-up hull and engines that made concerning noises. But it was fast enough, and more importantly, it was there. They changed course and headed toward the signal. As they got closer, the communications became stronger and more complex. Wu worked frantically with the translation programs, but nothing made sense. "It's definitely artificial," she reported. "Multiple ships broadcasting simultaneously. This is a large fleet." "How large?" Jin asked. "At least 7 distinct transmitters, maybe more." They were still 4 hours out when long-range sensor specialist Min spotted something on the screens. "Captain, you need to see this." Jin looked at the sensor display and felt his heart skip. 7 massive shapes floated in formation clearly. "Artificial, but unlike any ship design in human databases. Those can't be real," Young whispered. As they got closer, the size became apparent. Each alien vessel was enormous, maybe 5 times the size of Earth's largest battleships. They looked organic somehow, with curved hulls that seemed to flow like water frozen in time. Strange patterns covered their surfaces, possibly windows or sensor arrays. "By the stars," Young said again, his voice barely audible. "Those ships are massive." Jin felt his hands shake slightly. First contact situations were supposed to involve trained diplomats and military officers, not a cargo crew hoping to make their delivery schedule. "Are they moving?" he asked. Negative, reported Hana. All ships appear to be drifting. No sign of engine activity. Wreckage? Sue suggested. No damage that I can see. They look intact, but dead in the water. Jin made a decision. Slow approach. Keep us far enough back that we can run if needed. Wu, are you getting anything from the translation programs? Still working on it. The mathematical base is completely different from anything we know. But Captain, I think these signals are distress calls. The crew worked in tense silence as they approached the alien fleet. The ships were beautiful in a terrifying way. Their hulls seemed to shimmer with built-in lights, and strange symbols covered their surfaces like glowing tattoos. Energy readings? Jin asked. Minimal, reported Min. Some internal power, but all main systems appear offline. Life signs. The sensors aren't calibrated for alien biology. Could be thousands of beings on board, or the ships could be empty. No way to tell. As they got within visual range, everyone crowded around the viewports. The alien ships were magnificent and intimidating. Each one looked like it could destroy a human fleet without breaking a sweat. Captain, Wu said suddenly, I'm getting something from the translation program. Very basic, but I think they're asking for help. Jin stared at the alien fleet. Here were beings with technology far beyond human capabilities, ships that could probably travel between galaxies, and they were stranded just like any broken-down cargo hauler. Open communications, he ordered. Let's see if we can talk to them. The screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. 3 eyes, pale blue skin, and an expression that needed no translation. Desperation. The universe had just become a much bigger place. The communication screen flickered as the universal translator worked overtime. Admiral Hughes' 3 eyes focused on the small human vessel with obvious disdain. Behind him, his bridge crew whispered among themselves in their musical language. You are humans, correct? Minister Bora's voice came through slightly delayed, as the translator processed her words. A rather primitive species from the outer rim worlds, Captain Jin felt his crew tense behind him. He'd heard stories about alien species who looked down on humanity, but experiencing it firsthand was different. That's right, Jin replied calmly. And your Talons, your distress signal reached our ship. Admiral Hayuk made a sound that might have been laughter. Your ship? That small cargo vessel? What could you possibly offer us? Young leaned close to Jin and whispered, Captain, their smallest escort ship is 10 times our size. Jin nodded but kept his expression neutral. We may not have your advanced technology, but we have supplies and willing hands. The Talon officers exchanged looks that clearly said they thought the humans were insane. You do not understand, Minister Bora said slowly, as if talking to a child. We are a research fleet of the Talon Empire. We have been traveling space for 1,000 years. Our technology is beyond your comprehension. Then why are you sitting dead in space? Dr. Sue asked bluntly. The question hit like a slap. Several Talon officers hissed in anger, but Admiral Hughes raised a hand for silence. Our quantum drives suffered catastrophic failure, he admitted reluctantly. But we certainly don't need help from humans, Jin finished. I get it. But here's the thing. We're here and you're stuck. Pride doesn't fix engines. Wu stepped forward. Captain, there's something else. I'm picking up massive energy readings from the nearest Talon ship. Their power is failing. Jin turned back to the screen. Admiral, how long do you have? The question hung in the air. Admiral Hayek's expression shifted from arrogance to something closer to uncertainty. Perhaps 6 weeks, Minister Bora said quietly. Before critical systems begin failing. Then we don't have time for pride, Jin said. Give me 5 minutes. He cut the connection and turned to his crew. Wu, open a priority channel to Earth. Route it through New Ganymede Station for boost. Captain, Hana protested. We're one cargo ship. What can Earth do from here? You'd be surprised. Jin smiled grimly. Humans have a funny way of coming together when someone needs help. The connection to Earth took several minutes to establish. When the screen finally showed the Earth Command Center, Jin recognized the duty officer. Captain Jin, this is an unexpected channel priority. What's your situation? Commander Kang, we've got 7 stranded alien ships, 2,000 beings, and they're going to die if we don't help them. There was a pause. Did you say alien ships? Confirmed. They're called Talons. Their technology is way beyond ours. But their engines are dead. They need supplies and technical assistance. Commander Kang's expression changed instantly. Stand by. The connection switched to a wider conference room. Jin recognized several faces. Commander Park from the Outer Colony Defense Force, Director Kim from Emergency Response, even Admiral. One from Earth Fleet. Captain, Admiral One spoke first. Are you requesting a first contact protocol response? Negative, sir. These beings are dying. This is a humanitarian mission. Commander Park leaned forward. What do you need? Everything. Food, water, air recyclers, spare parts, engineers. And we need it fast. How fast? Tomorrow would be good. Today would be better. Within an hour, things started happening. The Outer Colony Defense Force had 3 ships ready to launch. Earth Fleet was mobilizing a supply convoy. Even the civilian shipping guilds were volunteering vessels. Jin reopened communications with the Talon fleet. Admiral Hyuk looked even more tired than before. We have help coming, Jin announced. Human ships with supplies and engineers. More. Of your kind? Minister Bora asked weakly. Yes, lots more. Admiral Hyuk's 3 eyes blinked slowly. Why? We have done nothing for humanity. We have given you nothing. We even insulted you. Jin shrugged. Because it's the right thing to do, and because someone's in trouble. The first human ship arrived 6 hours later, Commander. Park's fast cruiser loaded with food synthesizers and medical supplies. By the end of the day, there were 5 human vessels surrounding the Talon fleet. Jin watched through his viewport as human engineers in spacesuits moved between the ships. Teams were already working alongside Talon technicians, sharing equipment and expertise. Minister Bora appeared on his screen, looking stunned. Captain Jin, I must ask, why are so many of your people willing to risk themselves for strangers? It's what we do, Jin said simply. Someone sends out a distress call and we answer. Admiral Hyuk joined the conversation. His earlier arrogance was gone, replaced by something Jin hadn't expected. Humility. We have misjudged your species, the Admiral said slowly. Perhaps we have much to learn from humanity. Through the viewport, Jin could see more. Human ships arriving. A massive supply transport from New Tokyo Station. 2 engineering vessels from Mars. Even a hospital ship from Europa. The rescue was just beginning, but already something had changed. The proud Talons were learning that sometimes the most advanced technology was just being willing to help. Chief Engineer Sue floated through the docking tube, connecting her ship to the Talon flagship, her toolkit clanking against her leg. Behind her came a team of 23 human engineers and technicians, all volunteers who dropped everything to respond to the crisis. Remember, she told her team over comms, their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. But that doesn't mean we can't help. Sometimes a fresh perspective is exactly what's needed. The Talon docking bay was enormous, with energy fields shimmering where atmosphere met vacuum. Strange robotic maintenance units skittered across the walls like metallic spiders, their movements too precise to be natural. Senior Tech June met them at the airlock. His 4 arms moved in what might have been a greeting as he spoke through his translator. Welcome aboard. Though I must warn you, our quantum drives are beyond the understanding of your science, Sue smiled. Maybe. Let's take a look anyway. The engine room was breathtaking. Massive crystalline structures pulsed with dying light, their surfaces covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change. Energy conduits snaked through the space like glowing veins. Specialist Lee gestured at the quantum cores. As you can see, the primary matrices are completely fused. The quantum field generators are offline. Even our best engineers have declared them irreparable. Sue studied the setup, her team fanning out to examine different components. Engineer. Hyung was already taking readings with his scanner. Your quantum drives, Sue said slowly. They work by folding space, right? A crude simplification, but essentially correct, June replied, sounding annoyed. And the failure happened during the hyperspace jump. The quantum field collapsed while we were in transit. It should have been impossible. Sue nodded, then did something unexpected. She pulled out a simple multimeter from her belt. "What are you doing?" Lee asked, horrified. "That primitive device cannot interface with our systems." "Watch me," Sue said cheerfully, connecting the meter to an exposed conduit. The reading made her smile. "Thought so. You've got a feedback loop in your power distribution system. The quantum field collapse created an electrical cascade that fried your primary systems." June's three eyes blinked rapidly. "That's actually a reasonable hypothesis, but how could you possibly fix it?" This was where things got interesting. Sue's team had spent the last day studying the Talon ships through their long-range sensors. They'd noticed something the aliens had missed. "Your ships are beautiful," Sue said, pulling out a tablet. "Pure energy, clean lines, everything perfectly integrated. That's your problem." "I don't understand," Specialist Lee said. Engineer Min stepped forward. "Your system is too perfect. No redundancies. When one part fails, everything fails. Our ships are different." "Your ships are primitive," June muttered. "Our ships are ugly," Sue agreed with a grin. "Ugly, clunky, and full of backups and workarounds. We over-engineer everything because we expect things to break." She brought up a schematic on her tablet. "Here's what we're thinking. We can't fix your quantum drives. They're too advanced. But we can create a bridge system." The plan she outlined was insane by Talon standards. They would strip parts from human ships and use them to create a hybrid system. Human jump drives couldn't fold space like Talon quantum drives, but they could push objects into hyperspace using brute force and massive energy expenditure. "You want to strap your primitive rockets to our ships?" June asked in disbelief. "Not rockets," Sue corrected. "Jump drives. And not to your ships, to your quantum cores." The proposal was this: use human jump drives as a crude power source to restart the Talon quantum systems. It was like jumping a car battery with a fusion reactor. Theoretically possible, but requiring precise modifications to prevent explosions. "It's madness," June muttered, but he was already looking at the schematics with interest. "It's necessity," Sue replied. Over the next 3 days, something remarkable happened. Human and Talon engineers worked side by side, sharing knowledge and techniques. The humans learned about quantum field manipulation and energy crystallization. The Talons discovered human concepts like percussive maintenance and creative over-engineering. Mechanic Bin showed Talon Specialist 1 how to modify their energy conduits using simple copper wire and electrical tape. 1 taught Bin how to calibrate quantum frequencies by humming in harmony with the ship's systems. Dr. Han worked with Talon medic Nian to ensure the modifications wouldn't harm either species. They discovered that Talon and human biology weren't so different. Both needed oxygen, water, and food, just in different proportions. The work was dangerous. Several times energy discharges nearly killed workers from both species, but each time they figured out new solutions. Humans showed Talons how to quickly isolate problems. Talons taught humans how to work with high-energy systems safely. Admiral Hyuk watched from the observation deck as human ships were literally dismantled to provide parts for his fleet. Engineers floated between vessels, carrying components and sharing tools. The sight made him question everything he thought he knew about civilization. "They're destroying their own ships to save ours," he said to Minister Bora. "And doing it gladly," she replied, watching a human engineer high-five a Talon technician after successfully connecting 2 incompatible systems. Captain Jin joined them at the window. "How's the work going?" "Beyond our wildest expectations," Hyuk admitted. "Your people, they think differently than we do. Where we see problems, they see puzzles. Where we see incompatible systems, they see new possibilities." On the 4th day, they were ready to test the hybrid system. Both species gathered in engineering sections across all 7 ships. The air was tense with anticipation and fear. "Beginning power transfer in 3. Sue announced over comms. 2, 1. The quantum cores flickered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then gradually the crystalline structures began to glow with new light. The hybrid drives hummed to life, creating a sound that was part quantum harmony, part human mechanical efficiency. "It's working," someone shouted, though it was impossible to tell if it was human or Talon. The ships could move again, Not at full capacity, the jury-rigged system was too crude for that, but they could reach inhabited space safely. As celebration erupted across the fleet, Admiral Hayuk realized something profound had changed. The proud Talons had learned not just about human technology, but about human spirit, and the humans had gained knowledge that would advance their civilization by centuries. The rescue was nearly complete, but the real transformation had just begun. The moment the hybrid drives activated, everyone felt it. A deep, thrumming vibration passed through both fleets as quantum energy mixed with human engineering. The Talon ships, dark and lifeless for weeks, suddenly blazed with renewed power. In the joint command center they'd set up between the ships, Admiral Hayuk watched the displays with wonder. Energy levels climbed steadily. Navigation systems came online. For the first time since the disaster, the Talon fleet could move. Propulsion at 30%, reported Chief Engineer Sue, studying her readings. Not perfect, but enough to get you home. Captain Jin stood beside Admiral Hayuk, both men watching their crews celebrate together. Human engineers hugged Talon technicians. Someone had brought out bottles of something that might have been alcohol, and both species were sharing it despite not knowing what it would do to each other. "I need to speak with you privately," Admiral Hayuk said to Jin. They moved to a quieter section of the bridge. Through the viewport, stars stretched in familiar patterns. Soon, both fleets would return to their separate homes. "Your people have shown us something we thought we understood," Hayuk began. His three eyes focused intently on Jin. "We Talons have explored the galaxy for 1,000 years. We've contacted hundreds of species. We believed we knew what made civilizations strong." He gestured toward where the crews mingled. "We thought strength meant the biggest ships, the most advanced weapons, the ability to take what you want. But your people, when you saw strangers in trouble, your first thought was, how can we help?" Jin shrugged. "It just seemed like the right thing to do." "That's exactly my point," Hayuk said softly. "For you, it wasn't even a choice. You didn't calculate profit or advantage. You just acted." Minister Bora approached them, carrying a crystalline device that hummed with inner light. "Captain Jin, the Talon Council has asked me to present you with this." She held out the device, explaining through the translator, "This is a quantum communicator. Only senior members of our government carry them. With this, you can contact any Talon fleet in the galaxy instantly." Jin accepted the gift, feeling its warm weight. "Minister, this is incredible, but we really didn't expect anything in return, and that's exactly why you must have it," she replied. "The Council will hear of human kindness. Your species now has our eternal gratitude and friendship." Over the next few hours, preparations began for departure. The human fleet would continue their supply routes, while the Talons would journey home to share their story. But something had fundamentally changed in both groups. Young and several Talon engineers exchanged technical schematics. They'd learned more about each other's technology in a week than either species had discovered in years of isolated research. Dr. Sue worked with Medic Nyan to compile medical data they'd gathered. The successful treatment of both species during the repair work had revealed surprising biological similarities. Even the younger crew members had formed friendships. Navigator Hannah taught Talon pilot Jay about human star charts, while Jay showed her how Talon navigation systems calculated interdimensional routes. "You know what's funny?" Engineer Min said to Jin as they watched the preparations. "We came out here to deliver food and supplies to colonies. Instead, we ended up feeding aliens and trading parts with beings from across the galaxy." Jin laughed. "Life has a way of surprising you." As departure time approached, Admiral Hayuk called for a final gathering. Representatives from every ship came together in the main bay of the Talon flagship. "Before we part," he announced, "I want you all to understand what has happened here. We Talons pride ourselves on our technology, our power, our independence. But you humans have taught us the most important lesson in the universe." He paused, looking around at the mixed crowd of humans and Talons. "True strength isn't in having the most powerful weapons or advanced technology. It's in the courage to help others, even at great cost to yourselves. You risked your own ships, your own lives for strangers you'd just met. That is a strength we had forgotten. Spontaneous applause broke out. Someone started singing. A Talon. Harmony that humans couldn't quite match but tried anyway. The sound echoed through the bay, a symbol of cooperation that transcended species. As the fleets prepared to separate, Jin stood on his bridge, watching the massive Talon ships power up. Their quantum drives created beautiful light patterns as space folded around them. "Farewell, friends," Admiral Hayok's voice came over communications. "May your journeys be safe, and your hearts always open." "Safe travels," Jin replied. "And remember, if you ever need help again, just call." The Talon fleet engaged their drives. Space twisted, reality bent, and in a flash of brilliant light, they were gone. Jin's crew gathered at the viewports, watching the empty space where their new friends had been. The stars looked the same, but somehow the galaxy felt smaller and more connected. "Captain," Wu said quietly, "we've got a new supply run to Beta Colony. Should we resume course?" "In a minute," Jin replied, still staring at where the Talon ships had vanished. He thought about what Admiral Hyuk had said. Maybe the universe was full of species with bigger guns and faster ships. But maybe what really mattered was being the kind of beings who would stop everything to help a stranger. "All right, crew," he finally said, turning from the viewport. "Let's get these supplies where they need to go. People are counting on us." As the horizon's edge jumped to hyperspace, Jin smiled. Somewhere out there, 7 Talon ships were racing home with an incredible story. And somewhere else, other species would hear about the humans who appeared when all seemed lost. The galaxy had become a friendlier place, one rescue at a time. The end.